Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Beautiful Anonymous changes each week. It defies genres and expectations. For example, our most recent episode, I talked to a woman who survived a murder attempt by her own son. But just the week before that, we just talked the whole time about Star Trek. We've had other recent episodes about sexting in languages that are not your first language, or what it's like to get weight loss surgery. It's unpredictable, it's real, it's honest, it's raw. Get Beautiful Anonymous wherever you listen to podcasts.
You are listening to Hillary Topper on Air, the small business podcast to help you grow both personally and professionally. And now, here's your host, Hillary Topper.
Welcome to another episode of Hillary Topper on Air. I'm your host, Hillary Topper, and today we're talking about a product that every swimmer and triathlete needs, but often struggles to find the right fit for: goggles. Joining me is Casey, the marketing genius behind Snake and Pig, a company that's changing the game with their super comfortable goggles and other swim products. But before we begin, I have to thank our sponsors. This podcast could not be made possible without the support of our amazing sponsors, and I want to take this time out to thank them. Special thanks to the Russo Law Group, Long Island's signature elder law, estate planning, and special needs law firm. For more information, visit vjrussolaw.com. That's vjrussolaw.com. And Playtry, everything swim, bike, and run. They have also franchise opportunities across the country. Their main headquarters is located in Dallas, but they have so many opportunities for all of us to buy online. Go to playtry.com/store. That's playtry.com/store. Or for opportunities for franchising, go to playtry.com and look for Own a Store. They're a terrific group and they have a lot of everything: triathlon, swim, bike, run. So Casey, welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your swimming background?
Oh man. So I started swimming competitively at the age of 5. It was one of the few things you could do in the tiny little town where I grew up. We had a great pool. So yeah, I've been swimming for forever and continued in college. And then when I became a graduate student, I had a couple friends who thought, well, it would be really fun to do a triathlon. There was a huge triathlon in Chicago where I was at the time called the Mrs. T's. And it was, I don't know, tens of thousands of people, I think. It was just enormous. And I always saw these people at the grocery store afterwards with these numbers on their legs. And I thought, I'm not really sure what that's about, but I want to try it. So I did the swimming for that relay and didn't do another triathlon for a while. It took a while for me to do my one by myself, but I got hooked. I was living in Portland when I did my first triathlon by myself. And then we moved to Austin, and I actually got my USAT coaching certification right before we moved. And so I spent many years as a kind of swim-focused triathlon coach. and did a lot of triathlons. Never did an Ironman, only a half Ironman. This takes a special kind of crazy to do iron distance, but I've always loved the swimming the most, and just really have liked helping other people love swim more, because a lot of triathletes just don't like it at all. It's a
Yeah,
real challenge for them.
that's so true, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with Snake and Pig?
Well, Snake and Pig is also Austin based, and I'm in Austin, but it was purely by chance. I went to my mailbox one day as a coach, and there was a box of goggles in my mailbox. And I honestly didn't know why they were there, had never heard of it. It was a weird name. I put them in a drawer for a very long time, didn't even try them. And then when I did, I thought, oh, these are really cool. But I was very brand loyal. A lot of people are, so I didn't really give them that much of a chance. But I did get in touch with the owner, and I have become more interested in doing more marketing as a career then, which is what I do now instead of triathlon coaching. And we just hit it off really well. And I decided to come on as basically he had a full-time job and wasn't really much of a marketer and was looking to grow the company. And I told him I knew a lot of people who needed good goggles. So it just kind of took off from there.
All right, so you have to tell us
Yeah.
how tell us about the owner and where did he get the name from?
The name is it's meant to be kind of a joke, kind of ironic. So he is an immigrant from Taiwan, and his partner is an immigrant from South America. And interestingly, she was the one taking a course about the Chinese zodiac, and she discovered that she was a snake and he was a pig. Now, obviously, the connotations of those terms are not great, and they are seriously some of the nicest people I know. So they thought, well, it would just be funny to take these sad names, Snake and Pig, and to kind of redeem them. And you can read a little bit more about the story on the About page at the website, but that's basically the deal. They just thought it would be funny. So we don't emphasize the snake too much because triathletes don't really like thinking about snakes when they're swimming. But we've really kind of gone with the pig part of it because he's the owner. He's not only an engineer but also a little bit of an amateur artist. So he has drawn the logo, and it's kind of a cute pig.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So is he a swimmer? Like, how did he get into this?
Yeah, he actually is a fitness swimmer. Swims every day, which honestly, I've been a swimmer and since high school. I haven't swum every day. I don't even like getting in the water, to be honest. It's a little cold when you first get in. It's not my favorite. But yeah, he's a fitness swimmer, but it was a kind of a more of a physics connection. So the manufacturing plant's owner's son needed a physics tutor, and Michael was a smart guy, good at physics, so he tutored him, and they became longtime friends. I don't know, they've known each other for 30 years now. It's been a very long time. And when Michael was coming to the States to become a postdoctoral fellow, the owner said, "Hey, we've been working with these big brands for a long time with our goggles, but the big brands, they're a little bit more interested in profit than in quality, and maybe you could try something else." So he decided to start his own company. And so he's
Wow.
exclusively, we get all of our goggles just from that one factory in Taiwan where he has this long time connection.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, you know, as you know, and I think many of my audience knows, I was at the aquatic center and I was complaining about how painful my goggles were around the rims of my eyes and the headaches I was getting.
Mm.
And one of the women randomly said to me, "Oh, you have to try Snake and Pig." And that's when I ordered my pair from Amazon, and I could not believe how comfortable they were on my face. The air cushion gasket design was so incredibly, it was so comfortable talk to us about that. Like how does it work? How does your goggles, how are your goggles so much more comfortable than anybody else's goggles?
Well, it's really about kind of, I would say, squish versus suction.
Hmm.
So, the first thing people do when they want to try a new pair of goggles is they try to press them under their face and see if they stay. And it doesn't work with our goggles because they don't suction to your face. It's really not about pulling the strap really tight or getting them to suction onto your face. If you can imagine a goggle rim that has an air tube stuck to it, that's really what these goggles are. It's not a suction cup, it's actually the squishy air tube. And so, I mean, if you could imagine, um, I kind of feel like it's like pushing into jello, like it's got just that little bit of give. And so it does seal out the water. It kind of forms to your face really nicely. So it can seal out the water without having to be super tight or having this suctiony fit. And that's really the key thing about this is how comfortable they are. And that's really what makes the difference. I had a friend explain it to another friend. We were talking about them. She was telling this new other person, it's kind of like when you push on a drawer really hard, but it has that soft close and it just kind of closes instead of slamming. She thinks that's kind of she explains the goggles to other people. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, somebody had asked me, a couple of my swimmers went out and bought them, from my recommendation. And they said, one person said to me, well, how do you tighten it? I thought it was so self-explanatory, just pull the
Yeah,
tabs.
the little tabs are kind of different, and we definitely get occasionally an email like, I don't understand how to do this, but yeah, I just pull them. There's
Yeah.
also this little plastic piece on the side, and Michael actually uses that. He doesn't pull on the tab, so it's you can do it different ways, but I like to pull on. We call it a little fish tail because fish and swimming. It's cute.
So, how long have you guys been in business?
Snake and Pig as a US based business has been around since 2016, but it started off
Wow.
very small, mostly wholesale. So we've had a swim shop in LA who's been huge for us for, all those years. I joined the company in 2019, which is when we built the online store. And we were on Amazon from early days, but really it's just been since 2019, obviously with a big dip in 2020 that we've really taken off, and it's been predominantly just people telling their friends, just like you experienced. Sometimes people will find us through Google searching, but it's usually friends telling friends.
Yeah. And in terms of um box stores like the LA store that you sell, are there
Yeah.
any other stores that you physically sell these at throughout the country?
We do have roughly, I can't remember the exact number, but it's somewhere around a dozen stores just scattered around the US. Swim stores tend to do really well. We are in a few triathlon focused stores that would really just be bike shops that happen to have some goggles and some other sporting goods stores. But the trick for us is that the box just looks like a box. The magic is when someone says, "Hey, you have to try these," and puts
Yeah.
them in your hand so that
Yeah.
you can try them on. So anytime we find a retailer who really wants to take that extra step and introduce their audience, they do great. But most of our sales do come from online.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you've gotta just try it and experience it, and, um, you have multiple styles now of the goggles, is that correct?
We do. We have three styles. Two of them we've had since early days. The normal basilisk ones are kind of the mainstay, which fit most adults. They come with three different nose pieces. The medium one seems to fit most people, so that's how they come out of the box. We also have one for narrow faces. Um, And, anytime somebody might usually wear kids' sunglasses or they have trouble with regular size goggles, you can try the juniors. So they don't have an adjustable nose piece, and they are smaller, but they do still have the air cushion. And we have a whole group of swim runners who love these and they use them. Um, you can try the adult ones with the small nose piece, but they really kind of fit a little bit differently. One other thing just for swim run is that because there's air in the gasket, the goggles actually do float. So swim run, there's almost always some like kind of crazy cliff jump. And just like skiing, you could yard sail, you never know. But your goggles are not going to go to the bottom of the lake, which is kind of cool. So
Yeah.
that's helpful. And then we have a brand new one that is a Snake and Pig original that Michael created himself, which is the top anchor. It actually has straps that go over the top of your head.
Hmm.
The inspiration for this was a couple Olympics back. He was watching a medley relay, and the breaststroker for the US dove into the pool, and her goggles rolled down her face, and they were stuck around her mouth for the whole 100 breaststroke. And he thought, I can fix that. So they are very unusual looking. If you tried to put them on a teenager, they would be too embarrassed to wear them. That's what we're finding. But there are some really big fans because I mean, one of the cool things about our goggles is that they will leave less of a goggle mark on your face because you don't have to crank them down so hard. But one of the downsides of not keeping them on really tightly is it can be difficult to dive in. If you're very, very fast, you might notice a little bit of leaking if you push off after a flip turn really hard. Or if you're an open water swimmer and you're wanting to dive through waves, or you swim in extremely choppy water, you might notice that they move around a little bit. So having that extra strap can give you more stability. If you don't really need more stability because of those things, then you can wear the sides even looser, which means even less goggle marks. So some
Hmm.
people like them for that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So with these, with the ones that go on the top of your head,
Yeah.
would those be appropriate for triathlon races? Because I'll explain why I'm asking. I
Okay.
have a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and this happens more times than not, where he was a beginner. This was his first triathlon. He goes into the open water, and the goggles gets knocked off his face.
Oh no. Everybody's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like swimming with his head above the water the rest of the way, and it was a bit of a
Wow.
way. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, would that work for something like that?
they might. And it just depends on how the knocking off happened. The other fix for that obviously is to wear a cap and then your goggles and then another cap over the top so that nobody can get you. I remember back when I used to have a wetsuit that actually had the string where when you closed it, it was at the bottom just because people used to try to unzip people. So you just never know what's going to happen in those mass starts. It's kind of nice that most races don't have those anymore.
Yeah, then now that they're going to those time trial, which are a little bit more civil.
Yes, agreed, agreed. I used to be a badge of honor that I wasn't afraid of mass starts, but man, it's nice to not have to deal with that anymore.
Absolutely. So does Snake and Pig also offer other swim-related accessories and products? And if so, what's a must-have for a swimmer?
We have a few things. We haven't diversified into everything under the sun, but we've got swim caps with the cute little pig. And we actually have them in some really big sizes. So if you've got locks and braids and you cannot squish them into a tiny cap, we've got ones for that. And my personal favorite is our foam goggle cases that are full of holes and it has a really chunky zipper. We really worked hard to make sure that the zipper would last for a long time. And it looks like it's going to be squishy, but it's actually pretty hard. So it can definitely keep your lenses from getting scratched, which people always want the outside to stay looking awesome. So those help, and the ventilation can help with making sure that your goggles dry between uses, which if you live in a humid place, I never experienced this as a child because I grew up in Southern California where the humidity does not exist. But people actually get mold in their goggles.
Ooh.
I know, really terrible. So we do recommend that people hang them up to dry, but that ventilated goggle case can help. And then we also have some race belts that I really like. They're stretchy and they have the little toggles that are my favorite because they keep the race number from ripping, which I used to use the ones with the little snaps and it was always a pain. So I really like the ones with the toggles better.
Agree,
Yeah.
agree. So let's talk about the target audience. Who exactly are you designing these goggles for? And maybe you could just address that a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Michael designed them for himself. He was a recreational swimmer who was not interested in wearing Swedish or one of those other kinds of, inexpensive goggles that almost everyone seems to use when they're a kid. He really wanted to have a comfortable experience. So, they're not explicitly designed for triathletes, but man, anybody who's not a kid can definitely appreciate these goggles so much. Personally, like I said earlier, I was super brand loyal. I had these goggles that I always used, but to be honest, they leaked on me at the beginning of every race. And when I went to master swim practice after 45 minutes, I was so done. Every interval, I was taking them off, trying to rub my eyes, trying to be able to
Ugh.
stand them to the end. And when I got my snake and pig goggles, sometimes people will say, yeah, it took me a couple of minutes to get them exactly where I wanted it, but they're kind of a set it and forget it. I don't get leaking at the beginning of races anymore. I've done a 10K swim, Hillary, that took me 3 hours. I never touched my goggles one time. And when I was at the end, I just took them off like, oh, I have goggles on my face. I forgot, which is to me that was like a small miracle. So they're really for people who the $20 off the shelf at Dick's Sporting Goods is just not for them. This is a
Yeah.
great option to try.
Yeah, and they're not expensive. They're not expensive at all. So, I think if anybody's tired of wearing uncomfortable swim and foggy goggles, talk to us about the best way to start with snake and pig. Like, do you have any suggestions for first-time buyers?
We have two colors that sell the biggest. I think just the kind of the classic black with the dark tint, that's kind of our big seller. And then we have a black with a lighter tint and this kind of really nice metallized finish. If you're swimming in an indoor pool, it's kind of like you have really good sight, but no one can see your eyes, which I think is kind of cool. So those are the most popular colors, but we do have more fun colors. Like we have these kind of salmon pink ones that have kind of a rose lens, which are just as dark as the black dark ones. And, people love those. There are even like professional triathlete men who love that color, which I just think is hilarious. Um, so yeah, those are the top sellers, but really it's just about what what lightness of tint do you need for your environment. And then the other thing that I always tell people is to make sure to take the little anti-fog bottle out of the box. It can be a little tricky to find. You have to open the box all the way up to find it, but it's super handy. It has a little spongy tip and you just take some baby shampoo, which is like $1 in the travel section at the grocery store, and put a couple of drops in there, fill it up with water, shake it really hard, and then you can just do it on there because people always ask me, so how are they with anti-fogging? And the honest truth is every pair of goggles fogs. So if you use this little guy, you're not going to scratch up the lenses and they stay clear for your whole swim. So it's a pretty easy little tool to use.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
wanna share with you, one of my followers on Instagram randomly, text messaged me on Instagram, and she said, "I love the goggles and have already purchased another pair. They are amazing. Thank you, Hillary, for sharing." And I just want to say that, like, not because I'm so great or anything, but because the goggles really are great. And I do suggest that if you're having issues with headaches or with feeling like they're sucking the life out of you while you're swimming, especially when you're going longer, um, definitely check out Snake and Pig. And Casey, can you tell our listeners how to get in touch with you and learn more about Snake and Pig goggles and even order a pair?
If you go to snakeandpig.com, all one word, that's the best way to get the information about the goggles. The homepage will give you all kinds of details about how they're special, show you all the colors, and you can get in contact with us on social media. We answer texts on Facebook and Instagram. So if you have a question and you want to reach out, you can either use that or the contact form on the website. We are on Amazon, but the price is a little less, and Hillary's discount is good on the website. So we recommend that you go there.
Yeah. And I'll be putting the discount code on Apple Podcast page. So if you're listening there, you could see it. Otherwise, it'll be on my blog. All right, Casey, thank you so much for being on the show. I want to just thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. If you're ready to upgrade your goggles, be sure to check out Snake and Pig, snakeandpig.com. You'll find everything you need to know about goggles and leave your headaches and marks behind. And don't forget to subscribe to Hillary Topper on Air. We'll see you next time.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.